You're in the middle of explaining how something hurt you. You practiced the sentence in your head. You told yourself you'd stay calm. You'd just say it clearly. But halfway through, their face changes. Maybe they sigh. Maybe they go quiet. Maybe they look uncomfortable. And suddenly, your chest tightens. Your voice softens. And the words come out before you even think about them. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. It's okay. It's not a big deal." Even though it was. Even though you were the one who was hurt. If that's you, I want you to hear this very clearly. You're not weak, you're not dramatic, and you're not too sensitive. There's a reason your nervous system reaches for apology the moment tension enters the room. And once you understand that reason, something shifts. Because it stops feeling like a flaw and starts making psychological sense. A lot of people who apologize when they're hurt didn't learn that habit in adulthood. They learned it in rooms where conflict felt unsafe. Maybe you grew up around big emotions, a parent who shut down, a caregiver who exploded, a household where tension lingered in the air like humidity before a storm. So you became the one who kept things calm. You learned very early that peace was something you had to manage. This connects to something psychologists call the fawn response. Most people know fight or flight. Some know freeze. But fawn is different. Fawn means you protect yourself by pleasing, by softening, by accommodating, by making yourself smaller so the threat disappears. It's not manipulation, it's adaptation. When you were young, apologizing might have lowered someone's voice. It might have shortened an argument. It might have kept love from being withdrawn. Your brain noticed, and it stored that strategy as, "This works. This keeps me safe." Another layer of this is attachment conditioning. If love felt unpredictable, warm one moment, distant the next, your system may have learned to monitor others closely. You became emotionally fluent. You could sense micro-shifts in tone. You could read silence like a language. That wasn't weakness. That was intelligence. But here's the quiet part no one explains. When you're wired to track other people's emotions for safety, your own feelings can start to feel negotiable. You learned that harmony mattered more than honesty. And so now, as an adult, you apologize the way some people breathe. Automatically, instinctively, almost reflexively. It shows up in small moments. Someone bumps into you and you say sorry. A friend cancels last minute and you say, "No worries, I'm sorry if I seemed upset." Your partner says, "Why are you being distant?" when you're actually hurt, and somehow you end up comforting them. You're bleeding and you're handing out bandages. It's like you're walking through life carrying a fire extinguisher for other people's discomfort, spraying it the second you smell smoke, even if the fire started in your own chest. In relationships, this can look like over-explaining your feelings so they don't feel accused. It can look like adding disclaimers to your pain. "I know you didn't mean it. I'm probably overreacting. It's my fault for being sensitive." You dilute your truth before anyone else has the chance to reject it. And in your self-talk, it sounds like this: "Maybe I'm too much. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I should have handled that better." This pattern is deeply connected to something called conflict avoidance, but not in the shallow sense of "I hate arguments." It's deeper than that. Your nervous system experiences conflict as threat. Even mild disagreement can feel like standing on thin ice, waiting for it to crack. So you stabilize the ice. You apologize. You smooth it over. You restore calm even if it costs you clarity. And here's the part that's tender to admit. Sometimes apologizing makes you feel in control. Because if it's your fault, then you can fix it. If you're the problem, then you don't have to face the terrifying possibility that someone else hurt you and might not take responsibility. That illusion of control can feel safer than sitting in unmet pain. But there is a hidden cost. When you repeatedly override your hurt to protect someone else's comfort, your body keeps score. Research on emotional suppression shows that when we consistently push down our feelings to maintain harmony, it increases internal stress and decreases relationship satisfaction over time. Not because we're dramatic, but because unexpressed pain doesn't disappear. It just goes underground. And underground pain has a way of leaking out sideways. It can turn into quiet resentment. It can turn into exhaustion you can't explain. It can turn into feeling unseen in relationships where you're the most emotionally generous person in the room. You start to feel like a house with beautiful furniture but cracked foundations. From the outside, everything looks calm. Inside, the weight keeps shifting. And maybe the hardest part is this. You start to doubt whether your hurt was valid in the first place. If you apologize for your pain often enough, your brain starts categorizing pain as wrongdoing. But your feelings were never crimes. They were signals. None of this means you're broken. In fact, the part of you that apologizes so quickly is incredibly intelligent. It learned to read emotional weather patterns at lightning speed. It learned to prevent storms. It learned to keep connection intact. That's not weakness, that's survival brilliance. You adapted beautifully. The only problem is you're still using a survival strategy in situations that are no longer life or connection threatening. Your nervous system is responding to a raised eyebrow like it's a slammed door from years ago. Of course you apologize. Of course you soften. Of course your voice changes. It makes sense. And here's where growth begins. Not with forcing yourself to stop apologizing, but with gentle awareness. The next time you feel that reflex rising, just pause internally and notice. Am I actually at fault, or am I just uncomfortable? That tiny gap between stimulus and apology is powerful. It's like widening a doorway that used to feel too narrow to walk through. Another shift is learning to tolerate micro-discomfort. Let there be a few seconds of silence after you express hurt. Let someone else sit with their reaction. You don't have to rush in and clean it up. Discomfort is not danger, it's just sensation. And maybe most importantly, start separating responsibility from emotion. You are responsible for how you communicate. You are not responsible for how others feel about what you express. That distinction is freedom. You don't have to swing to the other extreme. You don't have to become confrontational or cold. You can stay warm. You can stay thoughtful. You can stay exactly as emotionally intelligent as you are, just without abandoning yourself in the process. Imagine what it would feel like to say, "That hurt me," and let the sentence land. No apology attached, no shrinking, just truth placed gently on the table, like a fragile glass that deserves careful handling. You deserve relationships where your pain doesn't automatically turn into your fault. You deserve conversations where your feelings aren't treated like inconveniences. You deserve to take up emotional space without paying for it in guilt. If you've been the one who apologizes even when you're hurt, it doesn't mean you're weak. It means you learned early that connection was precious and fragile, and you did everything you could to protect it. That says something beautiful about you. Now, you're just learning that connection doesn't require self-erasure. You can keep your empathy. You can keep your softness. You can keep your depth. Just let it include you too. And if this felt like someone finally putting words to something you've carried quietly for years, stay here. There's more to understand about how your mind learned to survive and how it can learn to feel safe without apologizing for existing.